Joe Buck is the voice of Fox Sports. He's done play-by-play for the World Series and the Super Bowl. Ben Heisler is the voice of the Rundown. He's done play-by-play for Indiana football and basketball teams. Here now is the meeting of the two great minds as our own Ben Heisler sat down with former Hoosier Joe Buck.
In 1987, talk about your freshman year here at Indiana. What do you remember most about being in school here, and what type of college student were you?
Wow, that's a loaded question. If I said that I was a great college student, first of all, my nose would grow and would take over the rest of this shot that you have. When I showed up here in 1987, I'd come from St. Louis, and I came from a small school, prep school, all boys, 60 kids in my graduating class, to, 60,000 people walking around, and not really knowing where to go, where to walk. My name was irrelevant. It was my social security number. Where were my classes? What time did I have to be there? It was a great education, and the whole part of the education that I think I still use to this day is being prepared for class, being prepared, having my work done with all that there is to do here. There's so many distractions, and it's a challenge to get your work done. 89, the Louisville Redbirds. 91, the St. Louis Cardinals, so on and so forth. 24 with Fox, calling your first World Series game in when you were 27 years old. Is your head spinning at all at this point, accomplishing so much at a very young age? You know, you don't think about it that way when it's going on. I think when I think back on it, and I think back on how immature I was probably when I was walking around here from 87 to 91 or parts of 91, and then to realize that, 6 years later I'm doing the World Series, or 3 years later I'm broadcasting the NFL on Fox. I mean, that makes my head spin a little bit now, and I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm saying that because I kind of faked my way through it, and I think it's the only way in this business that we're in that you can get better at it. I mean, you can't read about how to interview somebody, or you can, but until you sit across from me and you're asking me questions and there's cameras rolling, there's nothing that you can do to prepare you for that until you do it. And so that's the fun part of it.
Was there a moment for you when it finally sort of made the right sense for you?
Yeah, but I mean, it's probably, that happened a lot later than you would imagine. I mean, I did that World Series in '96, and I think it took until '98, '99 before I really felt comfortable. I think you get to a point in your career where you don't feel like you have to prove everything you know every time you open your mouth. And when you can get to that point and you've built up enough credit, then I think you can relax and enjoy your job. Until then, you're scrambling.
With Fox, you've become sort of the national voice, and you've had that opportunity since '94. But you also had an opportunity to be with St. Louis for 13 years as the hometown voice. Do you miss being able to say into the microphone with an excited voice, getting anxious and watching Pujols drive a home run maybe 400 feet, that type of call perhaps that maybe you can't really do anymore?
Yeah, it's a great question, and yes, I do. That's really the fun in broadcasting. I think when you can let your raw emotion go. I grew up a Cardinal fan. I'm from St. Louis. When I was starting out, I mean, there are calls that I made, Ray Langford bowling over Darren Dalton at the plate, and my voice cracked. I mean, I lost everything. I lost all credibility at that moment. But it just was from pure excitement and joy. And that part of this business is gone for me. You can't do that on a national level unless you want to be laughed out of the business. So, and it's not just about the Cardinals. I think you have to kind of play it a little more adult and straight. And I do miss that, yeah.
You talk about some of those growing pains. Can you maybe reflect on a time that was either your most awkward moment in the booth, most embarrassing moment, almost worst broadcast that you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, well, my first television broadcast was something that I'll never forget because I had never done TV before. I was caked in makeup. It was about 130 degrees in the booth at Shea Stadium, and we were coming on. I was filling in for Kent Wilson, who was doing the Cardinal TV at the time. We were coming on at 6 o'clock no matter what, and 6 o'clock happened to hit in the middle of a doubleheader, and so all we had to do was fill time. We had to fill 45 minutes. And they're like, okay, we want you to recap what happened in game one. Okay, I think I can do that. And then we want you to throw down to Al Roboski on the field, who's got an interview for you. Great. So I start talking, and I'm sweating a little bit. and the makeup's starting to run, and then sweat starts to collect in my ear, and then the earpiece actually pops out because my ear's so wet with sweat, and it falls behind me. And so I say, now let's go down to the field, and here's Al Roboski with an interview. And they're telling me in my ear that Al can't find his microphone down there. And I know from watching the Brady Bunch, which is way before your time, that when that red light's on, the camera's on me, and the red light stayed on. I'm like, okay, and I can't hear them telling me to continue talking. So I said the same thing over and over and over again. It was awful. The best thing was I eventually got through that, and then doing the game was like a piece of cake.
In 1987, as we said before, right after Nite, and the Hoosiers won their third basketball championship. Can you see yourself back here when Tom Crean takes these Indiana Hoosiers back to the national championship?
Yeah, I've become such a fan of his, and I think that they meaning you, Indiana, has got the right guy. And there's no doubt in my mind that with his energy and his ability, that will happen. And yeah, I would love to come here and witness it, because when I came here in '87, it was the semester after that. You know, I got here and they had just won. And I remember the pride I had sitting on my couch at home in St. Louis. I'm going, that's my school. They just won the national championship. Keith Smart just hit a shot from the baseline to beat Syracuse, and I'm headed there. And that was exciting. And I never got a chance to feel that again as a student here, and I'd love to do it as somebody who went here.
Well, that wraps it up for this edition of Hoosier Sports Night. Be sure and check us out on IUSTV.com and come back and see us next week when we see if the Hoosiers could reclaim the old oaken bucket from arch rival Purdue. For Kate Senni, I'm Kristen Carroll. Have a good night.